Welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace, in a very dark Ibiza.
And me, Richie Pyer, in a car park in a football stadium in Mallorca. Hello, Mark.
Hello, mate. You look like it's like the Blair Witch Project there, mate. Are you okay?
Well, if I turned the screen around, you'd be able to see that I am actually sat by a football pitch.
Right,
but
okay.
Behind me is complete darkness. Yes.
First time we've ever done one of these in the evening, Richie. Why are we so late? You're such a busy boy these days, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been a busy day, Mark, today. Good busy, but busy. So, sorry I let you down a bit earlier, but yeah, things happen in the day sometimes.
Of course, mate. Listen, thanks for taking the time, Rich. And what have you got for me this week, more importantly?
Well, I mean, you've touched on already you said to me something about for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. What did you send me?
Well, it was a protest on one of the Osborne Bulls, which I wanted to talk about because I think that's really relevant for us expats living in and working in the Balearics.
Yes, this was about foreign property buyers, wasn't it? That's right. Now I remember now. Sorry.
Yeah, we've got that. Good to see you've done your homework, mate. Thanks for that.
Sorry. on that thing, obviously they're talking about property values and stuff like that, and people not being able to buy property because of tourism, etc., etc., etc. But there's been a meeting this week of the people that put together the tourism protests. It was a meeting held somewhere. I don't know where it was. It didn't look that salubrious. Not that I'm casting aspersions here, to be perfectly honest, but it was about 50 people. And I say that again. It was about 50 people. And they're saying, oh, yeah, more protests are coming. Well, where have they been for the last 6 months? Yeah, that's what I want to know.
But this is the problem, Richie. You know, with these kind of groups, these disrupting groups, there are only 50 of them, right? And they're 50 quite powerful people. They're lawyers, they are doctors, they are well-known people, but there are only 50 of them. Yeah. There's not 5,000 of them. There's not 10,000 of them. Now, how many tourists did we have in the Balearics last year?
It was between 10 and 15 million.
I think it was best part of 50 million people came to the Balearics last year. Yeah, and we're talking about 50 people. They are getting headlines like you can't. It's a bit like the those idiots in the UK who stop on motorways. What they call just stop oil. Yeah. So you've got these. Yeah, no. You can take as much offence as you want. Listen, I get it. I'm all for. Listen, I am all for debate, and I do believe there's a real serious debate here to be had about the future of tourism, about the environmental damage that sometimes it causes. And by the way, the politicians are mainly to blame, not the tourists. It's the politicians because they're the ones making the rules. But I just think this outlay of aggression towards tourists. And, I mean, just to explain to the listeners at home, there's an Osborne Bull, isn't there, in Palma? Is it in Palma?
It's out near, it's a place between Algaida and Monturri.
Right, okay, yeah. But, I mean, the Osborne Bull, to anyone who's not familiar with it, these are really very famous landmarks. These are very famous things in the whole of Spain. They're basically there's a black silhouette of a bull on a mountainside normally, isn't it? On a place which was for the Osborne. Were they a brand? They were cognac, weren't they, Rich? I think cognac or brandy, Osborne. So they were selling cognac or that type of thing, and it's been defaced in Mallorca. What did it say? Rich foreign investors go home, is it, or something like that? What did it say, Rich? I can't remember.
No, rich foreign property owners go to hell. Nice.
Yeah, it's nice, mate. Yeah, it's nice. But Rich,
welcome to Mallorca.
It's a nice little welcome. Can Rafa Nadal say that next time on a TV screen
as they arrive at the airport?
As they're arriving. But I think there's a wider issue here, Rich, because rich foreign investors aren't the enemy. Okay, they're not the enemy. Because people like normal teachers and normal firemen and people like that, they don't live in rich foreign investors' houses. Okay, they live in apartments in the centre of town, which are mainly owned by rich local families, to be honest. So the rich foreign investors aren't the enemy, and I think this is a really important point that we need to get across.
Well, also, one of the things that hits the news this week, there's still traffic queues going on the motorways, and obviously there are no tourists here right now. Yeah, listen, agreed. The traffic queues will possibly get worse in June, July, August, September, but there are still traffic queues going on. So,
Yeah.
and I always point back every time I have this argument with people, or we talk about this. I point back to a guy I spoke to. He's got a company called Save the Med. They do a lot of work looking after the seas in and around the Balearics. He's a guy called Brad. He's a great guy to interview. And he said, Richie, the biggest problem on the islands right now is there's too many of us.
Yes.
And when he says us, he doesn't mean tourists. He means residents. He means people that live here. Do you know what I mean? There are too many of us. That's the problem. And this is why you're seeing all the problems that we get. But I would say once again, I'd go back to what I said earlier on. Where have they been for the last 6 months?
Yeah.
They've not protested at all in the last 6 months. If you're really, really serious about your protesting and trying to make a point of it, you should have been protesting pretty much every month going out. There's supposed to be some sort of a statement from the government about the sustainability in tourism happening at the end of February. They've had this sort of, get together before. They're setting up a program of obviously things that they want to change. Be interesting to see. I think it's out on February the 28th because that will determine, I imagine, how listen, if they're protesting there, I imagine knowing protesters, they'll probably just carry on protesting. But, the government has to be seen to be doing something, I think, as you just said.
Talking of protesting, mate, there's a very, I'll go on to my first subject here, which is rental amounts in the Balearics, yeah, because it goes on really, it's a segue from what we just talked about there, because the bottom line is, Rich, that people can't get affordable rents, can they? It's as simple as that. I think locals are feeling squeezed out and workers are feeling squeezed out as well. Interesting report this week out, Rich, that the Balearics now is almost, certain places in the Balearics are almost as expensive as the most exclusive place in Madrid. Okay. So the place in Madrid, which is called, let me see, La Moraleca. Yeah, La Moraleca, which is one of the most exclusive addresses in Madrid. That's about 4,000 euros average per month to rent a house in that area. Okay, 4,000. Second is Santa Eulalia, which is obviously on the east coast of Ibiza, and that is 82 euros less on 3,900 and a few quid per month. And that is shocking, really, Rich. I mean, this is where we're at now. I mean, it is a problem. It's a massive problem, but I really don't know what the solution is because it's supply and demand. And as you rightly said before there, right, you just nailed it there. The problem is there's too many of us. It's as simple as that. And everybody wants to live in the Balearics. I'm sorry if you're living in the UK and going, why are you boys always saying the Balearics is so good? It's an amazing place to live, isn't it? We've got everything here. We've got the weather, we've got the sports, we've got the facilities. I'm sorry about keep banging the drum. And basically the bottom line is people want to live here. And if you want to live here and there's no space, it pushes the prices up. But it's really shocking that Santa Eulalia is now 3,919 euros per month to rent an apartment on there, which is amazing, really. Also, just to go a little bit further in there, Rich, San Jose's in the top 10 as well at 3,566, and also San Antonio, obviously, where I live, is 2,600 euros per month as well. So, I mean, the prices really are getting ridiculous at the moment. They really are. And there's a few Mallorca places there, Rich, as well. So let me see. The highest price in Mallorca is Llucmajor, 2,000 euros.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Llucmajor, which is 2,000 euros a month. Palma, which is 1,700 euros a month, and Manacor, which is 1,400 euros a month as well. So we have got a problem, but I really don't know what the solution is. Unless they want to build 10,000 affordable houses, and I tell you what, they will go in less than 5 minutes, won't they? 10,000 affordable houses in the Balearics. And then what's the point in that anyway? Because you're just forcing prices down. You're not forcing prices up.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen we've got some affordable housing going up in Magaluf, actually, weirdly enough, right now. I mean, it's not a lot, but there are some affordable houses going up, and they're talking about building in and around, not in Palma, but at the outskirts of Palma as well. But they're also looking at taking on hotels that obviously haven't been used for many, 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 many years. Converting them into apartments and everything, which of course, is a great idea if that is the case. Why should it hold on to its hotel license when it could be converted into, helping the situation? I think the problem is, Mark, is that we don't hear or see about these problems right now because there is places available right now. I've had friends that have come over the last sort of 4 weeks or whatever and have managed to get apartments, albeit prices are pretty hefty. I'll be honest with you, but you've got to get in. You know what I mean? If you don't get in, what's going to happen right now is the price goes up. Although interestingly, I was speaking to a guy the other day, and he actually said that he noticed that a couple of properties that he visited, prices actually had gone down,
right?
Because obviously they hadn't taken them up, or they hadn't been rented. So it's a difficult one, Martin, and I don't really know the right answer because it's what can you do? As you just said, there is a demand. There is a demand for property, and when there's a demand for property, why would you then start to drive the price down?
Well, there's only one solution, Rich, and that is for the government to build affordable housing for locals. It's as simple as that. And for essential workers like doctors and nurses and firemen and policemen, that's the only way they can do it. Because if you're a developer, you're not going to build cheap houses, are you? It just doesn't work that way. So right. It's the only way. So the government need to take a lead from here, and they can walk in the streets all they want, Richie, but until the government take the lead, the Balearic government and the central government, nothing's going to change. And Ibiza rents, as you see there, $4,000 a month for an apartment. I just saw an advert online there actually for a 3-bedroom penthouse in San Antonio Bay, which is not a million miles away from me, and they want €6,000 a month, Richie. 6,000 a month. There you go. They break it down to €2,000 per room per month.
Well, interestingly enough, there's another story that we can probably segue into this story as well. That the French are to push to make life easier for Britons with second homes to live in France. 5 key documents. French homeowners, basically second homeowners, are getting rid of the 90-day rule. Basically,
I saw that.
Which obviously, which if France go that way, then you would hope that Spain would join them. No.
I think it's going to happen sooner or later, Rich. It's got to happen, but it's all about diplomacy. It's all about negotiations, but it will happen sooner or later. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but I think it will happen. Did you see my blog this week, Rich?
I haven't seen your blog this week.
What?
When did you blog?
I know. I posted this morning because the West End of San Antonio, which is a real polarizing area of Ibiza, it's a bit.
Sorry, I did see about painting the pavements and everything.
Yes, exactly. Now it's a bit like your Punta Ballena. It's a bit like your Punta Ballena, isn't it? We've got San Antonio West End. You've got Punta Ballena. It's this polarizing area which you either love it or hate it. I was brought up in the West End, so I absolutely love it. Although I do recognise it is a challenging area. There's petty crime going on. But what they've done, which I think is a really positive, creative thing to do, is they are painting the pavements. Now, it sounds a bit kind of strange, but they've got a very world-famous graffiti artist in called Acu de San Miguel, who's Spanish. He's done massive works all over the world. They've brought him in. They've put sails on the top. They're painting the pavement in a kind of very abstract, bright-coloured style. If you read my blog today, you'll see an artist mock-up of it as well, and I think it's a really positive thing. The funny thing is, people were really damning about it, Rich. When all the negative Nigels and negative Nellies out there, all of a sudden it's starting to take shape, and everybody, you can just see the positivity going in the other direction now. Everyone's going, oh, it actually looks okay. Now, I actually had the mayor on my podcast over Christmas, Mayor Marcus Serra from San Antonio, and I asked him, I said straight away, Marcus, why are you doing it? And he said to me, why not? He said, it's a crazy idea. He said, but why not? He said, we've got nothing to lose. They're using European funds from it. And I just feel that people have been a bit more positive. At the start, they were being negative, but now I just feel, you can see online, social media, the pictures are going up. And I think it's a punt, but you never know. It might just change the dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, San Antonio, like the Punta Ballena, has always had a bad rap, hasn't it? It's the sort of particularly obviously on an island that's a lot smaller as well. It probably stands out more than it does here in Mallorca, to be honest with you. Because in Mallorca, it's one street, and particularly in Magaluf. And Magaluf is quite a big town now. Do you know what I mean? It has stretched itself away from the Punta Ballena, to the, there's lots of beautiful beach bars and cafes now along the Paseo on Magaluf. Bars and restaurants have moved away from Punta Ballena as well. I mean, listen, I still think Punta Ballena has sort of a home in Magaluf because it's always been part of it. Should it be the same as it was years ago? No, probably not. But it can still be a nice place to go. It's the problem is you get to the height of the summer and it starts to get a bit lively is probably the right word. Although my days are long gone from frequenting the Punta Ballena. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But the problem with these things, the older you get, everybody that moans about it says, well, you were young once, and you were probably up there partying when you were younger. If that's what the kids want, you've got to provide it for them. Once again, it comes down to policing and looking after it and making sure that,
Well, it's entry level. It's entry level, Richie, isn't it? That's the thing. The thing we're creating in the Balearics now, this really VIP culture, and it's all fantastic. And organically, Magaluf and San Antonio is moving in the right direction. I think you gave me the stats about the 4- and 5-star hotels opening in Magaluf and in San Antonio the same as well. But you still got to. You can't have everything at £25 a gin and tonic. You do need to have some entry level market for the youngsters to come through. And the youngsters of today, the people who come back when they're older and rent villas and buy houses. So I think it's.
I was just about to say exactly the same. What I'm seeing a lot of is people contacting me saying, "Oh, my son or my daughter's coming out. These guys that I used to rep with or have been on holiday here and everything else." I said, "Could you just keep an eye on them for me?" I said, "Yeah, always just give them my phone number if they need something. Absolutely, they can call me. It's no problem." You're right. You're creating the latter years market basically.
But for sure, because if you push out the youngsters, then there's basically no acorns on the floor to grow, is there? So we really need to think that. So, but I think it's a great positive thing for San An, and everyone's getting behind it, and that's the good news this week.
Good. Have you any universe news? From our
I'm taking a week off from Universe, although I did see a few things happening, but I'm going to take the week off. Our sponsors, the Matuti's group, who will give us no money whatsoever for touting their business, but maybe next week we might have a little bit of news.
Good, mate. Good.
Great to see you, mate. Thanks for taking the time out. Yeah, I mean, you've been a bit up and down, but I think we got there, didn't we?
Yeah, sorry, I'm resting against the steering wheel here, live from San Biblione, home of Real Mallorca, where my son's training this evening. Fantastic.
Hey, it's all rock and roll in the Balearics, isn't it, as you can see?
Yeah, dad taxi, there you go.
Right, Richie, listen, have a good week. Great to speak to you.
And you, mate, take care.
Make me dance.